The Church of the Bleeding Heart was never truly empty. Even at midnight, when Sister Evangeline slipped through the heavy oak door, the air was thick with a presence that had been waiting. She came for peace, for the cool, forgiving silence of the altar. She came to whisper her sins into the dark, hoping God alone would listen. But something else was listening. The door clicked shut, the sound final as a tomb seal. The only light came from the crimson sanctuary lamp, casting the nave in a bloody gloom. Her footsteps echoed too loudly on the stone. She genuflected before the altar, her fingers trembling as she made the sign of the cross. It was then she felt it, the weight of a gaze. Not from the crucifix, but from the shadows clustering between the stations of the cross. She saw the statue of the Virgin Mary, her marble face softened by the dim light. But the eyes were no longer downcast in mercy. They were fixed directly on her. A cold dread, sharper than any penance, pierced her heart. She hurried towards the confessional, seeking the familiar structure of ritual, the anonymity of the lattice screen. She pulled the heavy curtain aside and knelt in the penitent's darkness. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned," she began, her voice a reedy whisper. No response. Only a deep, resonant silence that seemed to swallow her words. She leaned closer to the screen. "Father?" From the other side of the lattice, a slow, wet, scraping sound. Like something peeling itself from a stone wall. Then, a voice, a grotesque parody of clerical gentility, layered with the gravel of the grave. "Confess, my child." It was not her priest. Terror locked her vocal cords. She tried to stand, to flee, but her limbs were leaden. Her eyes were drawn to the statues lining the walls. In the hellish glow, every saint, every angel, had turned its head. Their blank marble eyes were now focused, intent, upon her. They were no longer stone, they were an audience. I have had impure thoughts," she stammered, compelled by a force she could not name. "I have been prideful. I have doubted." A low chuckle emanated from the priest's side of the booth. It was a sound that promised no absolution, only a void. "Such trivialities," the voice hissed. "Confess what you truly fear." As the words hung in the air, a single, thick tear of crimson welled in the eye of a stone angel. It traced a grisly path down its cheek. Then another. From the Virgin Mary, from St. Peter, from a cherub by the font, blood began to seep from their unblinking eyes, dripping onto the floor with soft, percussive taps. Sister Evangeline whimpered, pressing her hands over her ears. But the voice was inside her head now. "You seek peace? I offer only truth. You seek repentance? I am the sin that cannot be forgiven." The curtain of the confessional was ripped aside. Not by a hand, but by the darkness itself, which congealed and took form. It was tall, emaciated, a habit of absolute blackness draped over a frame of unnatural angles. The face was a porcelain-white mask of eternal rage, the eyes sunken pools of hellfire that promised an eternity of torment. Valak. It leaned down, its breath the smell of spoiled incense and open graves. It did not speak, but the words were branded into her soul. This church was never his. It has always been mine. And you are my final sacrament. Sister Evangeline's scream was a silent, strangled thing. She felt a coldness invade her, not possession, but erasure. Her faith, her memories, her very self, were being scoured away by that gaze, replaced by a perfect, screaming madness. When the sexton found her at dawn, she was kneeling before the altar. The statues stared blankly at the walls, their faces clean. The confessional was dusty and still. But Sister Evangeline was not praying. Her head was tilted back, her mouth stretched in a soundless, endless shriek, and her eyes, wide with a terror that would never fade, were weeping thick, black tears.